Also, a federal judge temporarily blocking the U.S. government from removing a detained Columbia University activist from Vermont. Mohsen Mahdawi co-founded a university organization. It's called the Palestinian Student Union, along with detained fellow Columbia student Mahmoud Khalil. Well, Mahdawi was arrested by Homeland Security agents in Vermont yesterday after attending a naturalization interview to become a U.S. citizen. Joining me for more on this is Leon Fresco, immigration lawyer and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Immigration Litigation at the U.S. Department of Justice. Thank you for joining us. So first of all, look, Mahdawi has permanent resident status here in the U.S. And one of his lawyers was telling ABC News that he advocated on behalf of his people, that he had moments where he spoke out, that is the extent of his participation. Is that how you see it? Do you think that he was detained based on his First Amendment rights?
Well, that's going to be for the government to prove. The government has to show that this was adverse to the foreign policy interests of the United States. That's the ground that Secretary Rubio is using. In the previous case, for the previous Columbia student, what the immigration court determined was that there didn't actually need to be a full-blown trial on that issue, but that Secretary Rubio's facially legitimate and bona fide letter was sufficient to have a deportation on that ground. And so ultimately that case and this case is ultimately going to come to a Supreme Court decision about whether that's true and whether all you need is a facially legitimate and bona fide letter where Secretary Rubio is saying in good faith that he thinks that this person is adversely affecting the foreign policy interests of the United States, or is this person going to actually get a full-blown trial to determine whether any of their conduct is actually affecting the foreign policy interests of the United States. And that is going to be determined, or whether this statute is just unconstitutional as vague or violative of the First Amendment. And so there was some case law a long time ago from a district court judge who was actually President Trump's sister at the time, who said that that law was vague unconstitutionally. So we're going to have to wait to see how that plays out.
What does it indicate to you that the judge in the case did grant his attorneys this temporary restraining order for him to stay in Vermont? I mean, what are they trying to accomplish with that?
Well, the key is that they want the person to actually go through the immigration court system in Vermont, where the attorney is and where the case is being handled and all the evidence is, as opposed to going to Louisiana, where it's much harder to access your client. You need the permission then of the detention facility. You have to get lawyers down there. It almost becomes impossible to represent somebody. By keeping them in Vermont, the lawyers can visit the client, get the information that's needed, and try to get the immigration case handled in the same locality as the person being detained.
Interesting. All right, Leon Fresco, thank you for joining us today.